The hospital called. They want to discharge mom tomorrow. OMG. What are you going to do?
Hey loves, welcome to A Touch of Love Talks podcast. I'm Lovey Baxter, family nurse practitioner, master's level social worker, and certified dementia practitioner. I'm so glad you're here. This is a safe space to talk about the challenges of taking care of your aging family member. I'm going to teach you how to protect your peace. Make sure you are informed and supported through this difficult journey. So you made it. You're in the right place at the right time to get the right information. Get comfortable, kick back, and let's dive in.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you all are here. A Touch of Love Talks has the best guest today. You all. We have the senior placement expert, Stephanie. Introduce yourself, love.
Thank you so much, Lovey. My name's Stephanie Duke. I own a business called Senior Living Advisors, DFW, and we are placement and referral specialists. We help families find the right senior living community for their elderly loved ones.
I love that. I love that. So, senior placement agent. How did you get there? Tell me about that.
Well, I had worked inside senior living communities all of my career, almost 30 years,
Okay.
either as a caregiver or nurse aide. I've also worked as a activities director, which is really the most fun job. But then went into sales and leasing inside those senior living communities, those big properties, and did that for many years. But about 3 years ago, I decided to branch out with my own business.
Okay.
And I still help families, but instead of just selling the one community that I was working at, I can now advise them across all of Tarrant County on where's the right fit for their loved one.
Wow. So when we're thinking about that, what is the biggest mistake that families make when it comes to senior living?
Biggest mistake is probably waiting too long.
Okay.
Like they keep hoping either their parent's going to get better, or maybe they're waiting because they don't think their parent is there yet. They're not as advanced in dementia as others, or I don't know. I think just waiting too long sometimes is a mistake, because it is better if you can get them moved and they can transition easier to getting used to the staff and just the routine of being cared for and getting lots of love and attention.
Right, right, right.
So
So let's break it down. What are the options if I am trying to place my mom or dad and I have no clue about what to do? What would you recommend if I came to you?
well, I would ask you, so what are your parents like? What do they need help with at home? Sometimes they're still pretty independent, but their
Okay.
house is becoming hard to manage and
Mm.
maintain. And so they're hiring help for housekeeping, or they're hiring help for the yard work. But if you start to see that they're forgetting appointments, they're forgetting to pay their bills, then it is definitely time to consider moving to a more supportive environment. So I would ask, what level of care are you seeing that they need? And a lot of times the adult children are working. A lot of
Mhm.
times they still have their own children at home, and those kids need their attention as well as their adult aging parents. So it's not an easy thing to do. A lot
Definitely.
of times it is why they wait too long,
Mm.
is because they're so busy. So it's a catch-22 for me. And like when my mother lived out of town for me, and I got a call in the middle of the night. It was a nurse at a hospital that said, "Is this Stephanie? I need to let you know that your mother has had a major stroke. We're transporting her to another town that can serve her better, and you might want to meet us there." And I was like, "What? How did this happen?" Um, I mean, I knew she had been sick, but
Okay.
she always refused help and was stubborn.
Mhm.
I know I will not be like that, right? I don't know.
Well,
It's a tough situation to be in, but I can help advise families I've been through this myself, my own mom,
okay.
my dad and everything, but I've helped tons of families in the Metroplex. I've had to educate myself on all the different kinds of levels of care, from the independent active apartment living
Okay.
to independent living with support services, then assisted living types A and B, and skilled nursing homes. And then there's residential care homes that vary in services as well. So we just have to educate ourselves on what's out there and
Wow.
find the right fit. That's why I'm glad I met you.
Well, that is such good information, and I'm so glad I met you as well. So you mentioned independent living,
Mhm.
then you said independent with services.
Mhm.
Let's start there. What's the difference in those two options? If someone is sitting at home and they are saying, oh, well, yeah, my mom or dad, they're independent. So maybe that's what they need. And then they pump the brakes. And now they're saying, oh, wait a minute. What is independent with services? Break that down for us.
So there's active independent living apartment complexes. It's for seniors only,
Okay.
ages 55 and up, and they'll have an office staff member of maybe the manager and a maintenance person.
Mm.
Maintenance person may be on call 24/7, but there's not going to be any other staffing around the clock or even staffing, after 6 p.m. Your loved one would be there independently, but the advantage of a place like that is that there is a community feel to it, and they're not going to have multi ages of families living in the apartment complex. Um, but they may have volunteers that come in to do activities
Okay.
in groups, but it's not a place that really has support because they don't usually have a housekeeping service, or they for sure don't have transportation provided. But then there's other independent communities that will include meals or optional meals in a dining room. Some seniors need that. And then some of those places will have transportation provided, or included in the rent. And that helps the senior stay independent a little bit longer.
Okay.
Um, but they won't have staff available there at nighttime.
Right.
So the senior really needs to be pretty independent and safe on their own.
So that's more appropriate, like for someone who just doesn't want all of the responsibility of a house.
Correct.
They can still be independent. They can still drive, right?
They can still drive. They can
Okay.
still drive if they move to an assisted living, although you may not want them driving, but it might make
Take the keys.
yeah, it might make your loved one feel better to just having their car in the parking lot.
Right.
But yeah, so independent living with support services, some of those services may be included in the rent or they may be optional. Just not no two places are alike. They're almost all
Wow.
different. So
And so then the next step goes to assisted living, right?
mhm.
And obviously the word assisted is in there for a reason.
Mhm.
So talk a little bit about that.
So in Texas, there's two types of assisted living that's licensed by the state. There's type A and there's type B. Type A is for a more independent senior that can, maybe they use a walker or a wheelchair. But if they're told that they need to leave the building, there's a fire on one wing and everybody needs to leave,
Mm.
that senior needs to be able to self evacuate the building on
Okay.
their own. And
Got to be able to get out.
they have to be able to get out safely. And they also, in a type A, they probably do not help with toileting your loved one. And they have to be weight bearing. Uh, done on a type A assisted living for 8 years after she had a bad stroke. And so I was very thankful for that facility. But once she got to the point where she could not bear weight, she had to move.
Wow.
And so then a type B is where a lot of people go if they can afford a type B assisted living. It usually means they need a caregiver to help manage their medications. They need maybe help or standby shower assistance, maybe help getting dressed or putting lotion on their back, maybe putting on compression hose. Lots of fun things happen when you become older.
Right?
Um, or help toileting. There's a lot of incontinence issues as
Mhm.
people age. And so they need caregiver assistance. And a type B assisted living is what that would they would need for that. Then there's memory care communities, which usually is a secure or locked community.
Okay.
And they help by helping to redirect people, those with cognitive challenges or changes in the brain, but they need to be in a safe environment because a lot of times they're exit seeking and sure would not be safe to be at home alone where they could walk out and start going down the highway or something,
Right.
that's very
Definitely don't
dangerous.
want
So,
that.
yeah. And then the residential care homes, that's just a whole nother wonderful product for people, as you well know.
We love our residential care homes around here, for sure.
Mhm.
Go ahead, tell the listeners what that entails, if you don't mind.
So, in my experience, a residential care home has a much better ratio of caregiver to resident. So, usually a loved one will get more attention moving to a residential care home setting
Okay.
instead of a big, huge facility. In my experience, like with my mom, she was in a community that had 50 residents. And at nighttime, they would have two caregivers for those 50 people. And they would have a third person that was the med tech. Um, and, from a corporate standpoint, I know corporate people are probably thinking, oh, well, all the residents are sleeping and they don't need care or they don't need that much attention. But my mom did.
Yeah. And most seniors do, if we're being honest.
Yes.
Somebody's got to go to the bathroom.
Uh-huh.
Somebody is about to fall out the bed.
Yeah.
Somebody's confused.
Yeah.
Somebody is asleep. We'll give them that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody thinks it's breakfast time at 2
Right.
a.m., you know?
Yes.
So it's a lot that goes on at
Mhm.
nighttime. And I do think that kind of gets overlooked a
Mhm.
lot. So
Yeah, I agree.
great point. Great point.
Yeah.
So this is a question that came in a couple of episodes ago. If I move my mom into a type A
Uh-huh.
and then she starts to decline, is it fair that I should have to move her when she's already settled in at that facility?
Well, if they're not licensed to provide her needs,
Mm-hmm.
if they're not licensed to help toilet her or change her or help her evacuate the building in case of an emergency, it's not the right fit for your loved
Right.
one. And so you might feel like it's not fair you're being asked to leave, but they are not licensed to provide the care. And so that's why you do have to time it just right on
Yeah.
when you're going to move your loved one. My mom was able to live there for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of rare to be that long, but she was pretty young when she had her stroke. She was 65.
Wow.
It just depends on how independent your loved one is. And I wish we knew the future and what was
I
going to
know.
happen to our loved one's
On this
health.
day, we're going to move them this time, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
there's more type B available than there are type A.
So would you recommend that a family, and this is no shade to type A facilities, but
Mhm.
if you see that mom may not be appropriate for type A, because obviously we want our listeners to do their due diligence, right?
Mhm.
And do your homework. So now you've educated yourself. So you know what type A is, you know what type B is. So if you know that mom is not going to be in a type A category that long, it might be better to go ahead and just put her in a type B,
Correct.
because type B can accommodate type A as well, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the reason why some families will choose a type A is because sometimes it costs less
Okay.
and they're hoping that they can live there longer. And you just don't know that something could change and you have to move to a type B immediately. But I think that's why some people do choose a type A is typically it's a little less because they don't have as much staffing as a type B.
Right. So generally speaking, because we know every facility is different, if I go independent living, what can I expect the cost to be?
So, independent living without any support services could be 2,000, 2,500, 3,000. Depends on, how fancy the place is,
Okay.
how new it is. But once you start adding some support services, then it does go up, probably starting at 3,000.
Okay.
Okay.
And then when we go to assisted living, what do you think the price range is? Or
I believe the average here is the rent would be 4,500, and then most big facilities add on a level of care on top of the rent,
okay,
and depending on what your loved one needs, it might be an extra 800 a month on top of the rent. It might be 1,200 or 1,800.
wow,
So that's in a big facility.
okay,
Um, Residential care homes don't price themselves that way typically, so it's a little more affordable. Just depends on what your loved one's personality is like and what their needs are.
okay.
But I will say, some people assume that Medicare or Medicaid is going to pay the rent.
Wait a minute. Hello, hello. Is this thing on? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, people are so shocked when they learn
Yes,
that Medicare does not pay the rent and Medicaid doesn't either. It'll pay in certain things, but not for the rent and room and board.
right,
It's not designed for that.
right. And Medicare does not pay for room and board at all in facilities, right?
Correct.
Medicaid, again, will only pay a portion of it in certain facilities. So
Mhm,
that is a huge misconception down
mhm.
here in the wonderful Lone Star State,
Yeah,
but that's just not,
yeah. And there's very few assisted livings that accept a Medicaid housing voucher.
right.
Very few. It's very hard to find.
And why is that, do you think?
I think it's because they don't make enough money from the state.
Okay,
So companies open up as private pay, and that's how they're a for-profit business entity. Although their heart hopefully is in the right place for
right.
caring for seniors, they do need to be able to pay their wages to their staff and everything. But Medicaid facilities are typically nursing homes, skilled nursing homes. So,
So what do you say about this? When my mom or even when me, because I'm knocking on the door. So when I get older, I'm just gonna go to a nursing home. I don't need to worry about, residential care homes or
mhm.
assisted livings. I'm just gonna go to a nursing home.
Well, okay. I have learned that you have to have a medical necessity to be approved to move into a nursing home.
That's right.
So they do not accept everyone
Hmm.
unless there is a skilled reason for them to move in and receive nursing care around the clock.
Yeah.
And that's really an eye opener, you know, that they don't accept everybody. I assumed they did, but they don't.
Yeah. A lot of families get caught up on that is what I
Mm,
find as well, is that, they have that mentality that I'll just go to a nursing home and my family can't take care of me, then I'll just go to a nursing home. But nope.
mhm,
You hit the nail on the head. You have to have a medical necessity,
mhm.
the skill of a doctor, a nurse, or somebody.
Yeah.
It has to be there. So
Mm.
uh, that makes it hard for some
Yeah,
families,
it's a shock to some people, and it's not that you just have to be on oxygen 24/7. That's not enough of a reason.
right?
You're still healthy.
Right. Doesn't take the skill of a nurse
No?
to turn on the oxygen machine.
Yeah,
Anybody can do that.
yeah.
So,
So,
what is the biggest lie that families tell themselves when it comes to placement?
usually it's, "Well, we're not ready yet," or "They're not there yet."
Mm,
And I ask her, "Well, what does that mean? What does that look like?" And they'll see someone else in a wheelchair and they'll think, "Well, my parents aren't at that level yet." Well, you don't know why that person is in a wheelchair,
okay.
but a lot of times they want to wait for a crisis to happen. Like maybe they've
Wow.
reached out to me because something did happen and they think they're planning for the future. But really the time is now. Like I've had families reach out to me this past month and their independent loved ones have been scammed. One out of
Oh my
$7,000.
gosh.
And she was a smart woman who just got scammed over the phone, and another one who lost 2,500 with a scam. And it's
Hey.
really time to move to a more supportive environment where some maybe decisions are already made for them,
Mm-hmm.
but it just makes their life more simple than being at home alone. these scam artists are either calling them or coming to their door and saying, "You need to do this. This would really help you. Well, here's my money,"
Mhm.
and it's just, it's
And
not
people
great.
have gotten so good with just building that rapport with families, or not with families, but with our seniors.
Mm-hmm.
Just loving on them a little bit
Mm-hmm.
in the wrong way,
They
obviously.
they befriend them over the phone,
Absolutely.
and then they get talked into things, and it's terrible. It is just terrible.
Which brings me to a good point, senior isolation.
Mhm.
So when these families are trying to make a decision and they are thinking, oh, well, mom needs a private room. She doesn't want to be around anybody because, back in the day, she was this and she was that. And
Mhm.
talk about being in the moment right now
Yeah.
and identifying what the needs are now versus who mom used to be or who dad used to be,
Yeah.
or my favorite, Aunt Susie, Uncle Bob, who they used to be in the past.
Yeah.
How do we make decisions for right now? And even more so, not decisions of what the daughter needs or thinks should
Yeah.
happen. Of course, our families are the experts because they know mom and dad,
Yeah.
but sometimes our emotions or our thoughts get
Mhm.
intertwined into what mom or dad really needs
Yeah.
because we're trying to make an emotional decision.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I'll share my experiences with my mom again.
Okay.
So one time, like right after her stroke, she's in a rehab setting, and her roommate and her did not get along. Their personalities were different, and
Uh-oh.
mom wanted a private room, and they did allow us to change rooms.
Mhm.
And then my mom felt safe and secure, and she even described her roommate as like she felt like she was younger and it was her sister.
Mm.
And so that was so relieving to me. So if you can put yourself out of the equation and think of what is best for my loved one at this point in life, that helps. I had also tried talking to other families about approaching it as it could be temporary,
Mhm.
and let's just see how it goes.
Right.
Let's just try it. It's best financially usually to have a roommate.
Mhm.
Um but, like, for my mom, it really did help her feel safe and secure, and she had good friendships with her roommates over the years. Um, so yeah, I think it's a good thing for certain personalities,
Right.
unless they truly don't, they fight all the time, then you can
Mhm.
try to work with the ownership to make a change, um, but try to think of your loved one is in a different situation now than they've ever been, and they're not as independent, and they do need more care and love and attention. And when they're at home alone, isolated, they're not getting attention,
Right.
and they may be doing attention-seeking behaviors. My mom did.
Yeah. Imagine that.
I'm gonna be just like her, I know. It is you do have to take yourself out of the equation, we're younger, and mom is not at the same place she was when we remember her being vibrant and,
Mhm. At her
40 or
best.
whatever, but
Yeah.
so I hope that helped.
No, it really did because a lot of families, I feel from what my interactions are, they make a decision based on, well, I know my mom would never want a roommate. Okay, well, let's elaborate on that. Well, she just in college, she never had a roommate.
Right.
It's like she never lived with anyone, but she's different right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes it's true
Mhm.
that she's not a good fit, but
Mhm.
a lot of times what I'm finding is that's just not the case. And they really want that interaction.
Mhm.
They may not want 50 people
Yeah.
around them,
Yeah.
but that one person just to be able to talk to them,
Mhm.
across the bed and things like that
Yeah.
makes a difference.
Yeah.
So I just always like to ask others, people that are in this line of work, what their experience has been because I find that it helps. It really helps. So next question that I have is when you are working with families, what cost surprises them the most when it comes to senior care?
Um, there I try to educate them on a phone call in advance. But when we're touring a place, they're usually surprised, like I mentioned earlier, that Medicare and their Social Security income doesn't just, wrap that up and pay for the rent.
Okay.
But they're surprised at the levels of care, costs. Some companies will charge by the service, and they call it a la carte pricing. So it might change from month to month on what you're paying.
Oh, wow.
Like it might be, well, we documented that your mother needed escorts to meals and activities 30 times this month, and I don't know why we needed to do that 30 times, but the month prior it was 25 times.
Mm.
And so you're paying for it individually like that for some
Oh.
big companies. But that's why most of them do like a level of care add on to the rent. It's supposed to be based on an assessment done by usually one of their managers or a nurse,
Okay.
and that they'll base it either on a point system or by how many minutes is expected of a caregiver to spend with their mom per day. Yeah, usually residential care homes don't do it like that. They do an all-inclusive rate.
Mm-hmm.
That way the families know, okay, this is what we can expect every month. This is great,
Right.
So
Right. Okay. I'm learning something new
there's
today.
also families are surprised to learn that in a bigger community, they'll do an annual rate increase. Some of
Okay.
them do it every January, and it can be 3 to 8%. Some do it every 12 months based on when their loved one moved in.
Okay.
And most places you sign a lease agreement
Mm-hmm.
and a contract that should state that they're not going to raise the rent for 12 months. So,
Wow.
but people are shocked when they find that out. Yeah.
Wow. Is it normal to, if we move into a whatever type of facility, fill in the blank, and mom has a situation, let's say she falls and she has to go to the hospital and now she's not in the right place, okay?
Mhm.
So we have to move her. What has your experience been as far as getting money back to apply it to a different place? Like if we have to move her all the way out, if she can stay there and she gets a rate increase, how does all that work? I mean, I'm sure it varies from place to place, but that can get expensive. We are dealing with seniors, right? So falls happen,
Mhm.
disease processes progress.
Mm.
So if mom has to move, how does all that money work out?
Well, I've never seen a corporation refund any money.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because
So we need to plan for that.
you need to plan for that. It's you probably need, like if they have a fall, they go to the hospital, then they go to rehab. That's usually a 3-week stay. You're still going to have to pay rent at that facility while your mom's in rehab, and you're hoping she's going to get strong enough to be able to return to her apartment, and you're waiting to see how she's going to get better. And you'll want to communicate with the staff or the director of nurses or the wellness director, whatever you want to call them, at her current community, because they'll want to go assess her and see if she can come back home to their property and be cared for. It's up to really that manager to say, I think she'll be okay coming home here. I think we can meet her needs. Or they might say, I think it's time to move to a higher level of care.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically them kind of giving you a notice of, you're going to have to clean out her apartment or keep paying rent there
Wow.
while you're looking for another place. And so hopefully sometimes those places will call me to help that daughter or son find another place that'll meet her needs. It's a very stressful time when that happens.
It sounds like it. So
Yeah.
then how much do we pay you? What are your fees like?
Well, placement and referral specialists don't charge a fee to families, but we do get paid later. Like
Right.
if we get paid on the back end by the community they choose. So people are shocked to learn that too. Um, but that's how we pay our bills, is so if I referred a family to, my top 3 choices for their situation, and if they choose one of those 3, that community will pay me a fee after their loved one has lived there for 30 days, sometimes not until 60 days. But we get paid eventually, but we just give out a lot of free advice. So
Wow. And it's needed though. That
yes,
it's a
I love what I
very,
do, and
very needed
yeah.
service. And families, I look at it as you hold families' hands,
Mhm.
during the most difficult journey.
Mhm.
Because when you're trying to make a decision and you're in crisis mode, you
Mhm.
can't.
Yeah.
You can't. Most of the time, it's going to be emotional, or
Mhm.
you're going to do something that you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
So to have somebody that can say, "Well, no, you might want to put mom in independent,
Mhm.
but let me tell you why that's not a good fit."
Yeah, it just depends on where they at. Where are
Right.
they at right now? What's going on? And I try to give them my best scenarios and my experience, and you know, just saying they're going to wait till they need a nursing home is not a good quality of life.
It's not.
And you want to put that off as long as possible. But there's home health that can be brought in, and hospice services can be brought in no matter where they live.
Okay.
Um, you can add grab bars and ramps to their house if they just absolutely refuse to move. But if they're not safe,
Yeah.
but you're going to have to bite the bullet and move.
We talk about that a
So,
lot here. Safety, make sure that your loved one is safe,
mhm.
because what you don't want is adult protective services knocking on your door,
Exactly. Exactly.
or not even that. You don't want something to happen to your loved one. I'd rather my mom or dad be mad at me because I, quote unquote, forced them to move
Yeah.
than for them to stay where they're at because I don't want to make the decision
Yeah.
and something happened
Yeah.
and it cost them their life or cost somebody else's life. So sometimes you do. It's got to be one person in the family
Hmm.
that can take one for the team and say, all right, this is what we got to do. Mom, you're not safe. Dad, you're not safe.
Yeah.
Aunt Susie, Uncle Bob, whatever. We got to make the decision.
Hmm.
Y'all got to go.
Yeah.
Or we're bringing somebody in,
Yeah.
or home health or hospice or
But sometimes it's harder when you have several siblings trying to get everybody on board. Everybody kind of reverts back to their childhood. The oldest is the boss. The
Yep.
middle one is missing. Who knows where the middle one is? And the youngest,
Sorry, middle children.
well, they ran away. And the youngest might be the caregiver
Yeah.
who's exhausted, but you can't measure love by how exhausted you are.
That's right.
You've got to make a tough decision and hopefully get everybody on board with we're doing this because we love our mom or
Mhm.
dad. And
It's what's in their best interest
yeah,
for sure.
yeah. And there's support groups out there online and some in person for families to go to that are going through this. It is hard. It's very hard to make the decision. I think most of us are taught all our lives that we're supposed to honor our parents and feel like we're doing them wrong if we make them move. These places are much nicer now than they used to be.
Yeah, for sure.
So, anyways,
For sure.
hope that helps.
So it does. It helps a lot. So I want to ask you a few rapid fire questions.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Put on your seatbelt. Here we go. All right. So just one word, if possible, when that comes to mind when I bring up these questions. Okay.
Okay.
One thing families should do before a hospital discharge.
Talk to the discharge planner, who might be a social worker or a nurse, and let them know ideally what you would like to see happen after
Okay.
the hospital stay, and then ask their opinion on where do you see mom, or dad thriving, and talk to that discharge planner.
I like that.
Mhm.
Biggest red flag.
Well, on facilities and tours, I would say cleanliness,
Mm.
obviously odors. I have walked in a place and turned around and walked out. But I will say, because of an odor, but I will say sometimes a place you need to give them a second chance because maybe they just hadn't taken the trash out of the building yet,
Okay.
because the trash can be pretty odoriferous,
Yeah.
if that's the word.
Or I've had situations where I've walked in a home and they are just changing someone from having a bowel movement,
Right.
and
Yeah.
that's a hard
Permeates through
one.
the whole house. So you
Yeah.
just have to get that fixed, go back and tour again. Try to give them another
Give them
chance.
another chance.
Well, because that is kind of a first impression deal
Right.
breaker. What was the question?
The biggest red flag.
Oh, I say cleanliness. And then I would ask, I'm doing much more than one word answers. But I would ask, what is the shift at nighttime like? After
Mm.
all the managers go home or ownership leaves, when they're putting on the nice show for a tour,
Oh my goodness.
what happens at night?
So hold on. Pause. Pause the questions. Pause the game. So would you recommend touring at different times?
Kind of.
Okay.
So there is a catch there. If you wanted to show up at a facility or a community after hours, just know you're going to have to go back to get the pricing information
Mhm.
and the lowdown on numbers and staffing ratios, because if you go at nighttime and it's the housekeeper or a concierge receptionist that shows you around real quick,
Okay.
they're probably precious, but they just don't know the answers
Right.
that you're going to have.
That's fair.
Yeah. So
That's fair.
you could do a drop by, but you're not going to get to talk to the right people for some answers on lease agreements and pricing and all that.
True. Okay.
So I do like scheduling a tour in advance
Mm-hmm.
to get the nice, pretty tour, and but you'll get all the right answers you need if you have a scheduled tour.
Okay.
So
And that's any type of property, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Sure. What do you think the most underrated quality that a facility has that a family should look for?
Engagement from the staff with the residents, like
Okay.
when you see that the residents look happy and they're talking to the caregivers, and you see, it's a feeling you get when
Okay.
you walk in. At least women do. Men may not get that feeling. Sorry, guys,
Sorry, guys.
but women get that nurturing,
Yeah.
empathetic feeling of engagement. Does the staff know the residents' names? And is there a loving touch? You just get that warm, fuzzy feeling from some places, and then
Mm-hmm.
others you don't get that at all.
Mm.
And
Pay
so
attention to your spider senses is what you're saying.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, go with your gut on a lot of things, but you do want to be educated
Right.
on your gut, just like the odor might be just because they haven't taken the trash out in
Mm-hmm.
a timely fashion. And as soon as the trash is out, then everything's good.
Right.
So
What's the most overrated families look at when they're looking at facilities, homes, whatever?
probably the chandelier in the lobby, the fancy interior decorating
Yeah.
style makes a great impression with the daughters and the sons. The younger generation makes a great impression, but that same kind of community might feel cold and institutional feeling if the staff isn't happy and they're not supported by
Yeah.
their managers or something. So,
Look past the pretty is what
you
I'm
do have
hearing.
to look past
Okay.
the initial prettiness and everything. A good first impression is important, obviously, but just because there's a chandelier or a longhorn steer and it's cute and Western or something, but
Mhm.
that doesn't mean it's an excellent place for care or loving attention. So,
Okay. And vice versa, I guess, would be true too. If a facility or a home wasn't as pretty as you thought, maybe it didn't have curb appeal, don't sleep on them.
yeah, don't
They
rule it
may.
out. I
Okay.
have had to advise families on it. It doesn't look much from the street, but I know the people in there. I know the team. They're very family oriented, and
Mhm.
and in my experience, it's a loving place. So it just depends.
I love that. Can people find you? Because it seems like everybody needs to be blowing up your phone right now to get in contact with you to get help because this sandwich generation is overwhelmed.
Hmm.
They're overwhelmed. They're trying to work their 9 to 5, come home, cook dinner.
Right.
Is anybody out there still cooking? Uh, I'm sorry, I always digress. Let me focus.
It's okay.
But it's just a lot going on with your own kids, and now you're throwing mom and dad into it.
Mhm.
How do they find you? Because to have somebody that they can call and say, look, I got a call from the hospital,
Mm.
mom's got to move. What do I do? So how do they get in contact with you?
Well, our website is seniorlivingadvisorsdfw.com. There's a little form to fill out there if you want to inquire that way. My personal phone number is also my work phone. It's 817-703-3436. I have a team, 3 other ladies that are placement agents like myself. We've all come from the senior living and healthcare world and
Okay.
have a lot of experience, and we're kind of located all over Tarrant County. And I have some competitors that do the same thing I do,
Okay.
but we're all friendly. We're all, we all have plenty of families to help in this
I
metroplex.
love that. It's enough out here for all of us.
Yeah, the thing about ours is it is a little more personalized than, say, a nationwide organization that you go online and you type in your name and number to this organization and they send your name and number to 20 communities, and that's so frustrating. But we don't do that. We protect your name and your contact information because we would rather the communities hound us instead of hounding the daughter or
Okay.
the son. But we're trying to find the right fit, based on budget, location, personality, care needs, obviously. But my suggestion is don't fill out anything online with your name and number because they'll send it out to a million places
Wow.
that are not the right fit for your loved one. And what a waste of time.
Because they haven't taken the time to even have a conversation with you.
Correct.
Because what you put on paper is one thing, but to sit down and say, oh, okay, well, wait, your mom, because you're trained to catch certain things, right?
Right.
So, yeah, the
And we
word,
personally, we don't refer to only places that we have contracts with. We refer to whatever is the right fit.
okay,
So even if we're not paid in the long run, I know it will come back to us some other way. And like the big corporation online, they only refer to places they're contracted with. And that's just not the right thing for the families.
Yeah.
So that's why I prefer our smaller placement agency. So
Sounds like your heart is definitely in it, which definitely aligns with everything that we're doing over here
yeah.
at A Touch of Love Talks, the podcast. Listen, I hope that something that was said today struck a nerve, because this topic right here, I know that we went a little bit longer than we normally do, but it's because this information, you all, is so vital for you all to know. You've got to educate yourself. You got to know what you're doing. You can't make emotional decisions, and there is help out here for you. I'm so glad you're here in the right place at the right time to get the right information. I'm Lovey Baxter. She's Stephanie Duke. You know where to find us. Thank you for joining us. Bye.
Thank you.
All right, loves, that's it for now. If this conversation helped you in any way, then go ahead and subscribe so you can stay connected. And don't forget to hit that bell so you can be in the right place at the right time to get the right information. Hey, until next time, protect your peace and advocate for the one you love.